Egypt, a land far more dangerous than the secrets buried in its sands. The shining walls of the pyramids are not just stone, they are echoes of the screams that were buried centuries ago. Pharaohs were called gods, but what if they were not gods, rather tyrants who bargained with the darkness? Their desire for immortality turned human blood into sacrifice, and their curses bound with black magic are still alive today. It is said, whoever disturbed the peace of these tombs wrote their own fate inside the grave. This is not just history, this is a mystery, whose price is only death. So friends, today we are going to uncover one such unseen story. But before you lose yourself in the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So let's start the video. Egypt's shining secret. Egypt, a civilization whose very name brings a golden image before our eyes. Towering pyramids, the glowing Sphinx, green fields along the Nile, and massive temples standing under the starlight in the darkness of night. For people, Egypt was nothing less than a wonder. The pharaohs here were considered God on earth. They possessed unimaginable wealth, and they immortalized their names in inscriptions carved on stone, towering monuments, and grand tombs. But, as dazzling as this story looks from the outside, it was just as dark and scary on the inside. This was a world where slavery, blood, and black magic were hidden. Secrets that ordinary people could never know. Secrets only pharaohs, their priests, and their chosen ones knew. Whenever we think of Egypt, we only see luxury and royal life. But behind that shine were the screams of millions of people, their pain, and their sacrifices. And the most terrifying part, the curses. And the most terrifying part, the curses. Written in their tombs still frighten people today. Many archaeologists who tried to uncover these secrets had to pay with their lives. So in today's story, we will uncover those dark secrets of the pharaohs' Egypt that were hidden behind their golden history. 1. Pharaohs, god or tyrant? Pharaohs have always been called gods on earth. People didn't see them as just kings, but as divine rulers. In one hand they held power, and in the other, religion. They claimed that they were not born as ordinary humans, but as demigods. The psychological game of power. The common people of Egypt considered the pharaohs as gods. For them, every command was a divine order. No one could even dare to speak against them. To maintain their rule, pharaohs played a psychological game. They declared that their words themselves were the commands of God. If they ordered that villagers should be sent into slavery, they went without question. If they decided that a family had to be sacrificed, people just silently watched. Luxury versus misery. Pharaohs lived in golden palaces. Imported fruits were brought for their meals. Perfumes were made that were reserved only for them. But the condition of common people was completely opposite. Famine, diseases, and slavery were part of their lives. The life of a common man was limited to farming along the Nile or giving his life building pyramids. Forbidden practices. Pharaohs were not just political rulers, but also religious controllers. Their priests claimed that pharaohs had a connection with the underworld. To maintain their power, they used black magic and necromancy, the art of communicating with the dead. It is even written in a secret text that one pharaoh sacrificed his own son to prove his immortality. Tyrant or god? This is the great contradiction. The world saw them as gods, but in reality they were tyrants. In their rule, human life had no value. For pharaohs, humans were nothing more than pawns, whether as slaves, sacrifices, or soldiers. Pharaoh's Egypt, dark secrets. 2. Curse of the builders, the dark truth of the pyramid, the scorching desert sand. And the pyramid, standing upon it. People say it is humanity's greatest achievement. These structures made of millions of stones still astonish the world. But Ajay, behind the beauty of the pyramid, hides a curse so chilling it makes the soul tremble just to hear it. Workers or sacrifice. The workers who built the pyramids are thought of as slaves, but the truth is even more horrifying. They were born in the soil of Egypt as humans, but lived in conditions worse than animals. Drinking water from the Nile every morning before going to work, hauling stones under the burning sun for 16-18 hours, and sleeping at night hungry and thirsty. This was their life. Many workers collapsed and died while working. Their corpses were buried under the pyramid, so that their blood and souls would forever become part of the structure. Walls written in blood. Historians have found places inside pyramids where blood stains were discovered on the walls. It is believed this blood belonged to those workers who were sealed alive within the walls. Why? Because the Pharaoh believed that if the workers who built the pyramid were buried inside it, their souls would guard the monument forever. That was their dark belief. Warnings written on the walls that still work today. On the walls of many pyramids, it was written, "Whoever disturbs this place shall never see peace in life." Even today, this curse frightens archaeologists. Many times when a pyramid was excavated, workers suddenly fell ill, some met with accidents, and some died mysteriously. Scientists call it coincidence, but people believe this is the curse of the builders. Pyramid, Taj Mahal, or graveyard. People see the pyramid as a wonder, but in reality it is a graveyard. Every stone is stained with the blood of workers. Every brick hides their scree. Mummification, a ritual of horror. Mummy. The moment you hear it, a terrifying image comes to mind. A corpse wrapped in white cloth, preserved for thousands of years from decay. In Egypt, mummification was considered sacred because they believed that the soul lived on as long as the body was preserved. But Ajay, the truth behind this ritual is so horrifying that just hearing it can chill the soul. Blood sacrifices. Servants of the afterlife pharaohs believed that their rule would continue even after death. Their thinking was, "The life I lived in this world, I will live the same way in the afterlife." And this thought gave birth to the tradition of blood sacrifices. The tradition of living burial. When a pharaoh died, not only treasures and jewelry were buried with him, but humans were buried alive as well. Servants, bodyguards, dancers, and even his wives. They were forced to drink poison or strangled to death. Then they were laid beside the pharaoh in his tomb. The pharaoh believed these people would serve him in the afterlife as well. An atmosphere of fear. Imagine Ajay, a young bodyguard who spent his whole life protecting his king, now being buried alive with that same king's death. A beautiful dancer who survived only by dancing, now forced to be buried in the sands of the desert. Their screams melted into the air of that time and perhaps still echo near the pyramid at night. The sacrifice of royal wives. Historians have found evidence that many times Pharaoh's wives were also sacrificed. Some wives were forced into suicide so they could be buried with their husband. Others were killed by poison. One pharaoh's tomb even revealed the body of his wife, who had been strangled to death, and her mummy was laid beside him. Afterlife or atrocity. For the pharaohs, this was service and loyalty. But in reality, it was nothing but cruelty and blood. Their ambition was so great that they used humans like toys. They exploited them while alive and never freed them even after death. A tomb filled with blood. Every royal tomb was not just a grave, but a mass grave, where human corpses were placed among vessels of gold and silver. And this was the real dark secret. The pharaoh never died alone. He always took hundreds of lives with him, breaking the body, stopping life. Mummification was not an art, but a horrifying process. The dead body was first cut open, its organs removed, the brain pulled out through the nose, the stomach and chest cut open and organs taken out. Then the body dried with salt and herbs. Sometimes this process lasted for months, and when the body was completely dried, it was wrapped in strips of cloth and decorated with gold and silver. Experiments on the living. Historians claim that sometimes mummification was not done only on corpses, but on living humans too. Pharaoh's priests captured criminals and slaves for their mysterious experiments. Imagine Ajay, a living person whose eyes were still open, but his brain being pulled out through his nose, his screams echoing inside the walls of the pyramid, but never reaching outside. The game of the priests. During mummification, priests recited chants. It is said these chants were not just for sending the soul to the afterlife, but were also part of black magic. They believed that such chants bound the soul to serve the pharaoh forever. That is, the body might rot in the grave, but the soul would always remain enslaved to the pharaoh. The secret-filled bodies of mummies. Today, when scientists did X-rays and CT scans of mummies, shocking truths came to light. Many mummies' bodies showed marks of being killed violently. Some had broken bones, and some mouths were wide open, as if they were screaming until the very last moment. This proves that not every mummy was made after death. Dark magic of the pharaohs deals with the underworld. Pharaohs were not just kings. People worshipped them as gods, but their power didn't only rest on armies or treasure. It leaned on something far more terrifying: dark magic. Deep within temples, in sealed chambers, and under the cover of night, rituals were performed that common people never knew of. The secret knowledge of priests. Every pharaoh had a high priest, a man considered a master of rituals and black magic. It is said these priests knew spells to summon spirits. They shed blood, lit sacred fires, and chanted strange incantations to please the gods of the underworld. They believed if these gods were satisfied, the pharaoh would gain immortality and limitless power. Human sacrifice and dark rituals. Many rituals demanded human sacrifices. Slaves, prisoners, and sometimes even innocent children were dragged into these horrifying practices. Their throats were slit, their blood offered. Upon altars, it is said these sacrifices were not just religious, they were pure black magic, meant to bind the pharaoh's soul to the underworld forever. Secret texts still unsolved on the walls of Egypt, temples and tombs. Hieroglyphs have been found that remain undecoded even today. Some historians believe they hold death spells and rituals of immortality. In one inscription, a chilling warning was written: whoever reads and understands this spell will never find peace in his soul. Curses that still live on. When Tutankhamun's tomb was opened in the 1920s, many of the discoverers died mysterious deaths soon after. Some from sudden infections, some in strange accidents, and some without explanation at all. Scientists blame bacteria and germs, but folklore insists it was the pharaoh's curse. Deals with the underworld. Some hidden texts claim that pharaohs made pacts with the gods to extend their reign. They shed the blood of their reign. They shed the blood of their own people in exchange for power from the afterlife. Perhaps that is why their empire stood so long over the world, and perhaps that is why one day it collapsed so mysteriously. Immortality or eternal darkness. The pharaohs believed these rituals and sacrifices would grant them immortality. But the truth is, their immortality didn't live in their bodies or their souls. It survived in their curses and dark magic, still echoing through the walls of the pyramids and whispering in the sands of the desert. Treasures of death. Tomb robbers and curses. After their death, pharaohs filled their tombs with unimaginable treasures to maintain their glory and prestige. Golden crowns, silver jewelry, precious stones. rare artifacts, even solid gold mummy masks. But with every treasure, there was a curse attached. The ghost of greed. Whenever a new tomb was discovered in the sands of Egypt, people rushed to loot it. Tomb robbers would break into the pyramids and the Valley of the Kings, stealing gold and silver. But often, this greed became their final mistake. Warnings on tomb walls. Many tomb walls carried inscriptions that still inspire fear today. For example, "Who disturbs my sleep shall be pursued by death. Whoever takes my treasure, their blood shall spill in the sands." People once laughed at these warnings, but when death claimed one robber after another, they began to believe. The curse of Tutankhamun in 1922, when Howard Carter's team opened Tutankhamun's tomb, the world was astounded. A coffin adorned with gold and silver, thousands of artifacts, and the famous golden mask. But soon after, a series of mysterious deaths began. Lord Carnarvon, expedition funder, died suddenly from an infection caused by a mosquito bite. Other members of Carter's team, some had accidents, others fell ill mysteriously. The newspapers called it the curse of the Pharaoh. Scientific explanation versus folklore. Scientists claim that toxic fungi and bacteria accumulate inside sealed tombs. When the tomb is opened, these pathogens enter human lungs, causing infections. But the question arises, why did only those who touched the treasure inside die, while those standing outside were unharmed? This is where fear and mystery deepen. Mummy's treasure. The living curse. Even today, many artifacts in Egyptian museums are said to carry curses. Guards have reported hearing voices had to carry curses. Night, feeling footsteps, or seeing objects move on their own. Collectors who took these artifacts home have died in mysterious accidents. True treasure, or a message of death. A pharaoh's treasure was not just gold and silver, it was meant to accompany them into the afterlife. Touching it meant disturbing their soul's peace. Perhaps that is why the curse still lives today. Forbidden love and betrayal in Pharaoh's palaces from the outside. Pharaoh's palaces looked like dreams of golden walls and luxury. But inside, the reality was painted with love, betrayal, and blood. Royal marriages, political deals. Pharaoh's marriages were often not for love, but political alliances. Egyptian dynasties married into neighboring kingdoms to strengthen their empire. True love, that was often hidden in secret affairs. Secret affairs inside the palaces. Historical accounts reveal that many pharaohs and their queens kept secret lovers within the palace. Secret rooms at night, bribes to guards for clandestine meetings. But Egyptian law was strict. If an affair was discovered, the only punishment was death. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. Cleopatra, Egypt's most famous queen, is remembered for her forbidden love. While fighting for power against her brother, she secretly fell in love with Julius Caesar. Through Caesar, Cleopatra protected her reign, but this very love eventually led to her downfall. The pain of Ankhesenamun, Tutankhamun's wife, Ankhesenamun, also lived a dark story. After Tutankhamun died young, she was left alone to save her life. She wrote to the Hittite king, requesting to marry one of his sons. But this secret was discovered, and it is said she disappeared mysteriously. Some claim enemies killed her. Others say she was murdered inside the palace. Blood behind brotherhood. Many times, Pharaoh's brothers or relatives betrayed them within the palace to seize power. Poisoned wine, secret assassinations, mysterious disappearances. These were not just stories, but hidden truths of Egyptian history. The palace. A golden cage. From the outside, the palace seemed like a dream. Golden walls, luxurious furniture, royal banquets. But the reality, it was a golden cage, where even love was a crime, and the smallest mistake could cost one's life.